Hey, Nick, I'm wondering if you're considering any coaching responsibility changes starting this week, including potentially trying to take over play calling to give the offense a spark.
No.
Okay, and what's behind that thinking?
Yeah, I feel good with the people that we have in this building. We're 10-3. We're in control of our own destiny, and we're going to keep rolling and finding answers with the people that we have.
We'll go to Chris and then Dave.
Afternoon, Nick. A lot's been made of the three guys, but Dallas, Devontae, and AJ getting the majority share of the targets in the last game. How do you get some of these other guys involved to spread the ball out? And what was the Cowboys doing to allow that to happen so it wouldn't, so they get the ball to them?
The other guys?
Like Julio, Quez.
Our passing game runs through three guys. That doesn't mean we don't want to get the ball to some other guys here and there, but the main passing game goes through those guys. The Cowboys and the style of defense they run, which is obviously a very good defense, allows you to, kind of get the ball to the, to where we were going with it, and that's where the ball was designed to go. It has nothing to do with anything else. Just we wanted to get AJ going. We wanted to get Devontae and Dallas the ball, and every plan is thought of through that. I've said that from the very beginning, and that was our plan in that game too. And obviously we didn't, we didn't win the game. We didn't play well enough on offense. We didn't coach well enough on offense. But that was by design to throw those guys the football, and that's why the football went there.
Go ahead, Dave, and then John.
And Nick, as you look at your defense, what's kind of at the top of the list of things to get cleaned up, and where's your confidence level in Sean Desai that he'll be able to get the job done?
Yeah, total confidence. Obviously, that's why we hired him for the job. That's why I hired him for the job, in Sean. And I think really where it is, the yards pile up on you when you're giving up some third downs. And again, that's not just that's the problem's everywhere there, right? Where we are on third down is, we got to coach him better. We got to put him in better spots. We got to detail it out for him, and we also got to execute better. So I think that's everybody's in on that. I think that this is a team game, and so it's the great. You hear me all the time say this is the greatest team sport there is, and I usually when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the good things that happen, but it's also the truth and when bad things are happening too. And so I respect your question, obviously answering your question right now, but to single somebody out and single one person out is not the right, is not the right move here. It's how do we get better as a team? And we have to get better as a team. Make no mistake about it. But that's where we are there. You had a second part of that question, Dave. What was it?
Well, no, it was about the what you needed to fix on defense and the
Yeah,
confidence.
I think it's more that situational. You bleed a little bit in the yardage areas when you're staying on the field on third down. So I think that's the big one's third down, and being able to get off the field in third downs. And obviously we haven't been good enough there. And like I said, that everybody's involved in that, and it starts with me. It starts with me, and then goes to everybody else.
We'll go to John and then EJ.
Hey, Nick. After the game, you were talking about starting faster, and you mentioned starting faster with plans as coaches. What does that part of it mean as far as getting off to the starts that you want to get off to?
There's different things you want to do when you open a game. You want to gather information, right? You want to gather information how they're playing a certain set. You want to gather information how they're playing a certain personnel. You want to gather information how they're playing a certain player, their player, our player. So sometimes the answer is to gather information. Sometimes and with your opening starts, and sometimes the answer is to, there's different answers there, right? And sometimes the answer is to run a certain set of plays, to get guys in a groove. There's all sorts of different answers, and so to us, we got to start fast. And sometimes that's going to be, maybe it's looking for less answers at the beginning, right? And starting fast. Like, don't make no mistake about it. When you're looking for answers, you feel good in those plays as well. But we just got to, I felt like, last year we had a good formula of starting fast, especially on that opening drive and in that second quarter. And so we just have to continue to do that. And again, be able to put the guys in positions to succeed and then adjust accordingly. I think one thing that's very important is that you just don't look at a first drive and say, I'm going to change our whole game plan based off of this, because it's very common for a defensive coordinator to play something a little bit different his first drive and then settle back in to what, because he knows you're looking for answers, and then settle back into what he does. So it's not always, the answer is not always that you get at everything on the first drive either. And so, again, a lot of different ways we can do that, but, you know, we feel like we just got to do a better job coaching and playing of starting faster and playing with a lead. You know, obviously that's always been important to us. It's kind of how we're built and how we need to play.
Go ahead, EJ, and then Bo.
Hey, Nick, I know how much of an emphasis you put on turnovers. You guys have tied your season total from all last season already this year. I guess what's behind the change? Is there anything you guys can do to kind of clean it up?
Yeah, we're putting in that same time as players, as coaches. Sometimes the ball bounces a little bit different, and it's a shame when you put in all that time that it does go against you. You know, I think last year at this time I think I saw a stat, we were plus 14. Right now we're minus 4. Huge difference. Huge difference on, you know, John, going back to your question on how you start a game and get a lead. And so we just, again, we know we're doing the right things as a team. You know, how we coach it, how we protect it, how we, you know, go about our business. And sometimes it is you want to look for every answer you can, and we will look for every answer you can, but it's smacking the table and saying, no, double down on the things you know to be true. And that's still our ball security circuit to start off any practice, right? And takeaway circuit. It's still our situational Saturday meeting where we emphasize the ball and how teams get the ball out and how teams take care of it. It's still our Thursday meeting with Coach Singleton and the offensive skill players of how a similar type of meeting and stressing what we need to work on. And so all those things can be true, and you can get frustrated in a time where you're going through a little bit of adversity in this moment. But I don't, like, because we spend so much time in it, because we feel like, you know, the time and the players are spending all the time in it and the coaches are spending all the time in it, you slap the table and say, hey, it ain't good enough. Here's what we messed up. You know, it kind of can go like this in drops too. Like, you go in ebbs and flows in this too. Hey, here's what we messed up. Here's how we're going to fix it, and double down on those things. And so you definitely have those core beliefs in, whether it's in your core values, whether it's in your, you know, which one of them's fundamentals, that you say, hey, I know we're doing things the right way as players and as coaches. It's not going our way right now. Let's double down on this thing and not hit the panic button, and just double down on what we know to be true. And that's, you know, the things that we preach in the turnover area.
Go ahead, Bo, and then Jeff.
Hey, Nick. As you know, from the outside, we're trying to figure out what's been going on in the last couple of weeks. There's the theory that you guys are tired. You guys are exhausted. Maybe some of the guys on defense, especially after all those snaps against the Bills. I know you don't want to use that as an excuse, but given the data that you have on the player tracking stuff, do you notice any difference right now with the guys in the field?
You know, we have a good deep group of guys that work their butts off, and they work their butts off at practice. They work their butts off during the game. You know, they're fighting, you know, every moment of, you know, the games and of practice. And so everybody's tired at this point of the year. We'll never use that as an excuse because we're at a point of the year where, you know, college football's, you know, done, and we're still going, right? And it shows you that the physical and mental toughness that you have to play in the NFL. It's a long season on a very demanding sport on your body. So we understand that everybody's tired at this point of the year. And, you know, again, we know we played, you know, a lot of plays on, especially defensively. And that's my job as a coach. And like I said to you last week, I didn't feel like I did a good enough job as a coach at having the guys rested enough. And you know, I definitely said that to our team, is I have to make sure they're rested enough. And sometimes it's to pull back a little bit on Thursday, and sometimes it's to pull back a little bit on Friday or Wednesday. And so there's different ways around, because there's going to be a lot of teams as we go that they're going to come off of a game where they've played a lot of plays, or they're going to come off a short week. You have to be ready for those things. You have to be ready for all the different things that the NFL, this game challenges you with. And so no excuses. I'll take full responsibility. If our guys are tired or play tired, that's a full responsibility on me. Like I said, last week, I felt like I could have done a better job. But again, we just have to be ready for any situation that we're put into. And like I said, particularly, last week, I felt like I didn't have them fully ready to go there physically.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Brooks.
Nick, there's a report that some players on the offense think the system has become predictable, and that the ball isn't being the plays aren't being designed to get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands quicker enough. Is that true?
We obviously don't think so. As coaches, we'll continue to work on making sure that we're meshing things together. That hey, this looks like that, so there's not a beat on anything. Or this marries to that, and the defense can't get a beat on that, because if they do, they're going to get beat on this. So we'll work like crazy on that. There's different things that you want to do. There's times you want to get the ball out fast. There's times where you want to push the ball down the field. There's times where you want to get chunks by throwing it underneath. There's times you want to get chunks by throwing it over the top. There's times you want to get chunks by throwing it intermediate. And so all things are true. You can't be predictable in anything you do. And so, like I said, we're working like crazy to complement our plays. So there is nothing, but we'll look at everything, and during our self scout of which we get every single week, to make sure we're not predictable and doing different things to hit all levels of the field.
Go ahead, Brooks, and then Martin.
Nick, you mentioned that self-scout. Is that the best way for you to find confidence in your game plans, or are there other things at this point or at any point where you can best vet what you guys are going to do and if that's the best way?
Yeah, there's different ways you game plan. You game plan based off of what the defense is doing, obviously. You game plan based off the things that you do well. So self-scout, you game plan based off things you do well that complement that. And so obviously, studying the opponent film and studying their numbers and studying the analytics, like those are all tools. It always comes back to what you do well as well. And so that's part of it. That's part of it as well. I'm getting a little bit of an echo. So that's part of it as well. During your self scout, so you use different tools to game plan the opponent, and like I said, what you do well is always near the top of the list.
Go ahead, Martin, and then Zach.
Hi, Nick. Kelly Ringo and Nolan Smith both played by far career high in snaps. I was kind of curious, especially with Ringo, he'd only played like one defensive snap before the game. Like, what warranted the decision to give him some, opportunities at cornerback, and also how both he and Nolan Smith did?
Yeah, again, it's a long season, and you're trying to rotate and trying to play guys to make sure guys are staying fresh. That's always a plan that you go in with. That's not always a reality that you can do it based off of how the game is being played and how the flow of the game is. Keely has done a very good job on special teams. He's been our special teams player of the week. He's like I said, he's played well on special teams. He's played well in practice. He's had the job of covering, AJ and Devontae during practice, which has helped him get better, iron sharpening iron. And so, he's earned more opportunities. And again, with the guys that, being a long season, being that we've played a lot of plays, you're trying to supplement that a little bit. And then he's earned the reps through the things that he's done. And, I thought that was a really obviously an outstanding throw and catch by Gallup and Prescott on the big long third down for the conversion. I know he also had a penalty. But besides that, I thought he played some clean football. He made a big stop on a tackle.
Coach, we lost your audio.
Okay. I can't do anything about that.
We hear you now. We hear you now.
All right.
You were saying I think you were saying he was doing an outstanding job and then kind of cut out.
What did I say? He was doing an outstanding job during special team as a special teams player in games. He's been doing an outstanding job as in practice against AJ and Devontae. You know, iron sharpens iron, and so he's gotten better that way. And so he earned those reps, and we know that we have to keep guys fresh as well, and keeping guys fresh, right? After some long games, like that's important, and you don't always get an opportunity to do that. We felt like we got an opportunity to do that. I know he gave up 2 plays. He gave up the pass interference call, and then he gave up that play that I just think that was good offense, good defense with Gallup and Prescott on the vertical route on that 3rd down. But he had a huge play on a 3rd, and I think it was like 23. They were trying to get themselves into range, and he made a big tackle. Him and Zach made a big tackle on the perimeter. So Keely's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's physical, and we saw that show up in the game. Again, he'll want some plays back, but all of us are going to want some plays back from that game. And so, Keely's just done a good job working, and we're confident in the player that we have and that he's earned those reps.
We'll take these last 2 questions from Zach and Bob.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. If I can follow up on EJ's question about turnovers, Jalen in particular has a fumble in the last 7 games, not all lost, but with him, what are you seeing, and what's the course of action to fix that?
You cut off for a second. Say that again, Zach.
I'm sorry. Jalen Hurts has a fumble in the last 7 games, not all lost, but are you seeing something in particular with him, or is it the nature of having the ball every play, and how do you fix that?
Part of that is that, and I'd have to look at all of those. Part of that, there's sometimes where the ball comes out different ways, right? The ball comes out, I think, like whether it's if the ball touches the ground and there's a handoff issue, then it's on Jalen. If the ball touches the ground, on any of those and he touches it, it's on Jalen. If the ball comes out and there's a potential, a pressure or something like that, and the ball comes out and he can't see it, it's on him. So I think part of that is, again, this is a team game, and now he gets provided with a lot of those stats, and those are the ones he has to, he has to have that because he is the quarterback. In this game that we just had, sure, he's going to want that play back. I think that Wilson made a really good play on that. We have to do a better job of protecting the football going to the ground. Jalen's got to do a better job with that going to the ground, and we got to do a better job coaching that. There's different ways to simulate going to the ground. It's one of the most unnatural things that you can do in football, to be able to protect the football as you go to the ground. Because naturally, right, your body wants to, sprawl out to catch yourself, and sprawl out with the arm that's carrying it. So, we got to put them in those situations even more. And that's my job as the head coach. Like, all right, well, let's make sure we simulate this drill more of going to the ground. And that's what we got. And that's what we have to do to help the players out. Again, you try to put them in every situation they can in plays so they can go out and execute, right? So you run a certain play, you try to give them every look, right? You try to give them a look of one defense versus one coverage, and then another defense versus another coverage, and then another defense. So they're prepared to make the plays mentally when they do that. Well, you got to do the same thing when you're going through fundamentals. You got to put them through all those same things. So again, it starts with me putting those guys in positions to execute their job, from their practice reps. So we'll get more work, when a play like that happens with Jalen going to the ground, or like a play like that happens with, I think in the Buffalo game, we had a little bit off with the exchange between the running back and the quarterback. We rep those more. Just like when you drop a football, if you drop a ball that is on the sideline and over the shoulder, you rep that more. Well, you do the same thing here, and that's where, again, it comes into a total team game of, the coaches have to do a good job of putting them in positions to succeed as far as their fundamentals as well. That's my job, and then they have to go out and execute as well.
Last one here with Bob.
Hey, Nick. Last week you were able to joke a little bit about the run the ball sign in front of the NovaCare complex. This week it was a little personal with the fired Sean and the garbage can stuff. Does that upset you at all that, somebody would get personal like that? I mean, it's one thing to, have something like run the ball, but that got a little personal.
Yeah, you're always try to defend your guys, and you always want to, it's just that's our family. So I mean, I guess I would shoot that question back to you, like, if someone was offending your family, you'd be upset too. Do I understand that we always are going to have criticism? I do. That's part of the job. We know what we signed up for, and we're big boys, and we can handle it. But you also have the portion of yourself that always wants to defend. That's why you get into this, and that's why you get into this for the connection. And the connection's not always during just the good times; it's also during the bad times. And that's what keeps teams close together. So a part of you wants to, be in defense of your guys, and you will be. But the other part, we know what we signed up for. And like I said, we're big boys, and we can handle it. And it is, and that part of it is what it is.
Thank you.
Thanks for your